Welcome back to another episode of the Body Buddies podcast. This is episode number 189.
Welcome to Body Buddies, home of the Power Foods lifestyle. Take it one meal, one workout, one day at a time. And now, here's the founder of Body Buddies, Kristy Jo.
In case we haven't met before, my name is Kristy Jo. I am a mind and body strategist who helps you bridge the gap between the science of optimality in nutrition and fitness and the reality of your day-to-day life and psychology. If you want to lose weight, feel better, blast through brain fog, increase your energy, see some muscle definition, soothe digestive distress, and gain a more healthy relationship with food, you're in the right place. You can find me on Facebook and YouTube as Body Buddies or Instagram as Bod Buds and Power Foods Lifestyle. Today's episode is brought to you by the Body Buddies Master Book. It is so exciting because we finally were able to launch the last nutrition diet meal plan book you will ever need. It is a companion to the Power Foods Lifestyle Starter Kit, which the starter kit comes with the book that's been helping people finally understand nutrition and learn the new formula of budgeting food and principalizing, we'll use that word, the different ways you can combine foods and the nutrient pairing, the meal combinations to really reach any aesthetic and health goal, which is pretty darn cool. So the starter kit again is the paperback book and the recipe books and some sample meal plans, and that's been helping people for the past few years. But now the master nutrition book is done. So now this is bringing you not only the challenges, the 75 meal plans for all these different demographics, but all of the templates and worksheets and guides that I've been using with my clients or individual groups that nobody's ever seen put together in one place until now. This is a 200-page book. It's coil bound. The front page is color. The inside is black and white. We've printed 2 to a page, making it very easy for you to reference it often and frequently so that you can really get to the part of your health where you're feeling awesome. That's really what the whole goal of this is. Like, I don't want to see you keep struggling, which is why this is something you've got to have on your bookshelf. It really is going to be the last thing you ever need. And if you are here loving Body Buddies and loving the principles and really maximizing what you're doing in optimizing your nutrition and your fitness, then I'd highly recommend you go check it out. So go do that at powerfoodslifestyle.com/masterbook. Again, powerfoodslifestyle.com/masterbook. All right. Today we are talking with Brittney, who we were just able to go through about 4 or 5 month journey together, where she was able to reach some really awesome goals. Now, I've coached thousands and thousands and thousands of people, my friends, but Brittney really is one of the first people that I've been able to witness this incredible, on every level, transformation. We're talking the way she thinks, the way she feels, emotions, stepping into this completely new identity. So I would say that she truly understands what it's like to have tried in the past and self-sabotaged and fallen down. And, you can get so far for sure. And all of you listening to this, I guarantee you've been able to get to a certain point. But at what point does sabotage step in and you're not like pushing through to what you really want? If you've ever wondered that, there's going to be some very deep nuggets inside this interview with her that she's going to share with you. Some things that she learned and gleaned along the coaching process and the person that she is today. So I'm just grateful that she was willing, when I requested, to be on the show, to share these insights as somebody who has just recently done this and experienced this. Does that mean she's going to be perfect in the future? No, I'm not perfect either. But does that mean that she has gone through a transformative process of thinking and feeling and new habits, new rituals, and reprogrammed much of the subconscious mind? Yes. Will she need to continue those processes? Yes. So I'm just grateful. Again, she's probably not the type that would have ever volunteered to do this, but because I asked, she took a deep breath and said, okay, I'll do it. And that's part of her courage and a part of her new reflection of the new identity. where I'll bet in the past she would have said, no, that's okay. So I just, gosh, can't say enough about her. Just love her. Very impressed and inspired by her journey, and what a great opportunity it was to work with her during this time. So now let's hear from Brittney.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Brittney. How are you feeling about this?
Thank you. A little nervous, but we're good.
You've been a long-time listener of the podcast, and now you get to be on it. That's cool.
Yeah, that's true. I've listened to a lot of them.
Yeah. Sometimes you remind me of things that I've forgotten about, stories or quotes or things. It's awesome. Well, we are here today to talk about your journey, and it's been, in my observation, one of the coolest stories, because it's across so many different levels of your life and different, aspects of approaching nutrition and fitness. And so thank you for being willing to share this. I think many women will be inspired by hearing you share your insights. So why don't you just introduce yourself a little about you, your family, and where you're at in your life?
All right. Well, my name's Brittney, and I'm 41, and I've got 5 kids. The oldest is 22, and the youngest is 16. So they just packed them all in really fast, and it's been a fun experience, but, always intense, mothering them. I married my high school sweetheart, still married, happy, and we've moved around a lot. He's, had a career, a professional career, which has moved us across the country. About every 4 years we move, and it's been cool to see different parts of the country. I grew up in Idaho, lived in Wisconsin, Utah, northern Idaho, southern Idaho. So, yeah.
That's great.
Us.
Yeah. I forgot how many kids were packed in that small amount, that 16 to 22. That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
kids
so
in 6 years.
Yeah, absolutely inspirational. So tell us about the push, that initial push that made you think, I'm ready for some change. Because it's not like it just happened one day out of the blue. Like you've had efforts before in the past to do, have more healthy habits and things like that, right?
I have. Probably about 7 years ago, with all those changes in our life, like my husband with his career, I had to be the breadwinner, so I worked 50 hours a week, plus taking care of kids that are age 3 to 9 at that time, and that was stressful, and I coped with food, so I ended up putting on weight. But it was just 5 pounds a year, so you just don't notice it. It just kind of creeps up, and so that happened, and then I was like, oh man, I'm getting close to being overweight, hit that, because I look at my BMI a lot. So I'm like, so I'm going to do something about it. But then it wasn't I try something for I'd say I'm really good for a month or two, and then I'm like, this is really hard. I'm just going to stop and relax, and then I relax for 6 months before I decide to try again. So that had been my pattern, until I got to a point where I recognized that I was 1 pound away from going into the obese category on BMI, and that freaked me out. I'm like, I'm not going there. I've always been growing up my whole life. I've exercised. I've watched what I ate. I was really fit. Even after my 5th baby, I was really fit. Clear till just all the stress of trying to almost be a single mom, but not, Yeah,
so, absolutely. So you're just this is not going to happen. Nope.
This is not happening. I'm serious now.
Okay. And that's what we find usually, in my observation, what, most of us, when we're ready to make a change, it takes some big emotional or psychological pulls or health hazards. And that's usually the impetus of initial motivation. But did that motivation carry you throughout the rest of your journey?
No. It was slightly in the back of my mind that I got so close to a place where I didn't want to go. But no, it can't carry you through the whole journey, because there's so many aspects of a life change that I never anticipated going into it, actually.
Okay, so that just begs the question. What were some of these unanticipated motivational things, or what you would have to work through that you couldn't have seen from the beginning?
Well, one was I was like, I would get to a certain point, like I would lose about 10 pounds, and then I would gain it back. Like I would feel almost guilty that I was getting where I wanted to be, and I don't know why I would feel guilty, but I did. So I gain it back. Then it's like a little war with myself about as I lost weight. And so you had mentioned to me, you're like, do you know who you're going to be when you get where you want to be? Like, have you envisioned who you are? And I'm like, no, I haven't. So you're like, okay, well, you're gonna do that. You're gonna say, my new identity does this. My new identity does that. And so it was taking that idea and saying, who do I want to be? Like one of them was like, my new identity handles compliments this way. And I'm like, well, in an ideal world where I have no limitations on me, how would I want to handle compliments? How do I want to handle stress? How do I want to love others? How do I want to discipline myself? And I'm a person, I believe in being nice to myself. So
which I love about you.
So as I went through those things, it was like, this is the ideal. And I would just write it as my new identity, handles discipline, this way. And so once I could see that and see that I wasn't going to be this cocky girl when I got to the shape I wanted to be. Yeah. But I was going to be kind and loving and who I really wanted to be when I got there, then that's what gave me it like took the walls down and let me just push forward to that.
You described that so well as we talk about identity and what we worked through. Knowing that resistance wall is there, and there's fear in the unknown. Yeah. There's fear in uncertainty. And when we don't have that visualization that's true, that we've taken the time to see it, to taste it, to know what that looks like and feels like and how it functions in our life, then it's a scary thing. Now, this all happens subconsciously. And so by us going through and having many, many, many assignments and journaling of you having to go into that unconscious part of yourself, I mean, was that uncomfortable? Was it comfortable? What was that like to have to go and do all that type of work?
So I'm a person that really wants to answer questions honestly. So I didn't feel like I could do it on a superficial level. So as I went into it, it's not totally comfortable, but it's like allowing yourself to imagine and explore where you want to go. And I think sometimes we don't, and I think as women, we don't allow ourselves to see ourselves as more than what we are. Because it's kind of like that quote, somebody sent it to me actually on the Body Buddies world once upon a time about, our greatest fear is that we're powerful. It's not that we're inadequate, it's that. And who am I to be that person, to step into that space? So by going and consciously being forced to answer all these questions, it was like it took walls and shackles down for me that I had not knowingly placed on myself since I was a little kid about who I was and what I was allowed or not allowed to experience.
It's challenging the narrative, and that's what's been so cool about all of our conversations is watching you be more and more progressively open to communicating about these. What I observed was in the beginning, I would lead a lot of the conversation, and then as you got a little more comfortable, whether it was with me, whether it was with yourself, or whether it was with just the approach in general, it was interesting to observe our conversations dialogue where you ended up sharing a lot more. I'd say it went from like 70-30 me to 70-30 you, which was so cool by towards the end. Let's talk about that first month, because that's where most people are like super gung-ho, let's go, I'm ready, I made that decision. And I do recall that we didn't push like extreme that first month. Why don't you share with us what that was like? Do you remember that first strategy?
I'm not sure because we've been on this for a little while now, but I remember one of the strategies that wasn't very strict. Huge for me was I've been trained, and I think a lot of us are, that if you're not perfect, if you make a mistake, then in order to get better, you have to be hard on yourself. Like you have to own it, and it creates this feeling of guilt, you know. So that was something that surprised me working with you. It was like, okay, let that go. And so being given permission to forgive myself over and over and over and not worry about mistakes I made was really big, and completely foreign to me, actually. But in the first month, I remember being able to say, well, I was, have a struggle, and you're like, well, what'd you eat? And I'm like, I don't want to tell her what I eat, because, I've seen Biggest Losers. This is where the coach comes down, and that's what I'm paying for. And so, And so I'm like, well, I had a candy bar. And you're like, great, it was probably delicious. I'm like, it really was. so you just programmed into my strategy that every day I got to have a candy bar. It was part of the strategy. And if anybody looked at me and said, are you sure you should be eating that? I'm like, yes, it's part of my strategy.
She told me. Yes. And knowing what you now, well, I'm just curious, really fast to interject. Knowing what you know now, how can you see that that was helpful in getting yourself to get that momentum going?
It was helpful because it made it so I was not afraid of food. I mean, a candy bar, by all definitions, is what got me to the place where I was, almost too obese, So, so recognizing that, no, you can still adopt and eat all these foods if you know how to do it in the right way. You can't do that for every meal, and you can't eat 5 candy bars, but you can have your one. So, and having that and not very strict, it took me from a place of all or nothing to a little bit was okay. And then I could push a little bit further and a little bit further, and it wasn't so hard. Once you start seeing changes, once you start feeling good and feeling your body starts feeling good, eating the way you're eating, the changes became easier. And it was easier to say, yeah, I can, when you're asking, can you do this now? Well, yeah, I think I can, because it was just so small, the changes each time.
Yeah, you were ready, and that was kind of our game plan, moving month to month and week to week and day to day, is that we weren't just going to jump in and say, hey, Britt, be perfect, ready, go, let's transform. That's not how it works. But why do people think that that's kind of how it is, and that you've got to have this ironclad willpower to reach success?
Because it's programmed into us with everything. I mean, you just, everything you look at, it's like, look, this person has a wrinkle here. How can we make that perfect? How can we make this perfect? And we're so caught up in our society with perfection that we don't realize that there is beauty in imperfection, and just allowing yourself to be human is okay.
Yeah, that's a beautiful insight. Yeah.
And you'll get where you need to be. I think forgiveness is powerful. I think forgiving yourself over and over is powerful.
Mm-hmm. We did talk quite a bit about spirituality during your journey, which I really value and appreciated about you and the insights you brought to the table, and very much enjoyed our conversations. It was very enlightening and, definitely added to my day. But I'm just curious, we have a broad listenership, whether I would say a majority are perhaps Christian, but just in general terms of spirituality, how did you find that played into motivation or purpose or identity?
I am LDS, so I have a strong belief that I'm a child of God, and I've felt that from the time I was a little kid. I know not everybody feels that way, but in recognizing that And sometimes you can use that to beat yourself up and feel like I'm supposed to be like him and I'm not perfect. I mean, again, that plays into that. So recognizing, like, you know what? He knows me, and I'm his daughter, and he loves me just the way I am. He loves me whether I eat a candy bar or not, or whether, okay, today I didn't handle that situation well and I totally yelled at my kid, but I'm going to try harder the next day. I mean, just I think allowing, I mean, also the Christianity, like Christ's grace, like it's real. And as you learn how to use it, you use it for yourself. And as I used it for myself, then it became easier to forgive other people when they, you know, when they're like subconsciously trying to sabotage my journey or whatever. You came, right. It was easier to recognize that that wasn't intentional. Like, they didn't want me to fail. They're just playing their own story out and their own guilt, and the things they say can come across hurtful to me. But I can have compassion for that because I've said those hurtful things to myself, and I've learned, like, no, I'm okay. Like, I don't even know how to say it, but just it's okay to want more. It's okay to want more than you have. I mean, because I've been taught, like, you know, sacrifice is the most important thing, or things like that. And it's like, it's actually okay to be happy.
Bingo.
You know?
Bingo. And permission, giving yourself permission to reach your best self and not keep throwing yourself under the bus, figuratively speaking.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so that, I love what you said, though, because that belief about who you are and that identity, what many people don't grasp is how critical that is to making these changes. So we think it's all this surface stuff of eat this, work out like this, woo, why am I not reaching my goals? But deep, deep down is challenging, who am I? What do I believe about why I'm here, my purpose, my existence, my contribution, and then reaching that higher level of thinking within yourself. And what I really appreciate about you sharing this is that it changed the way you looked at other people's interactions with you. And instead of when people would say things, whether it was, hey, you're at a family get-together, or way, hey, you're at a friend's gathering, or wait, you're on a trip, or anything, that no matter what anybody says to you, that you are so on your own journey that focus is there. So is there anything more you'd like to say on that? Or do you feel like that's kind of, I don't know where I'm going with that, just because I know maybe people you do know will listen to this. And
yeah. I mean, I don't know really what I want to say about that. It was just more that spiritually, as like giving myself permission to be more than who I was. And I don't think it's more than who I am eternally. I think each one of us are amazing. Like, every person has so many amazing things about them, but we always diminish ourselves. And because I don't know why, but to realize that it's important for myself to hear who I want to be and that I believe in myself. So, I mean, that was part of that spiritual journey was, one of them, I don't know. It was like things like, I speak with love and compassion to my husband, children, and the people that I meet, you know, and I am brave and I'm excited to try new things, or I will use my energy that I get from fueling myself and using these workouts to go into living and loving. You know, those are things that spiritually, like, it was like I had to say those things out loud for a while. I think your affirmations, and then it's easier for you to step into it and to live those things. They become your truth because you're willing to already let it be your truth before you're there.
Yes. Spiritual creation is like one of the phrases that I love to think about. As especially females, we are creators. there's that God-given, beautiful, innate characteristic, and taking that application toward the intangible, the things that are within us, the soul, refinement, and creation. Like, that's really such a beautiful thing. As you kind of going down that line of affirmations, because that's one of our mindset tools that we use to help with that process, are there any other tools that for you personally, because we've talked about a lot, but which ones were the ones that really for you stuck and that you think you're going to continue using as you move forward?
There's a couple of them that are pretty powerful for me. A lot of it you talked about different energies that every person possesses. So, and you named them as your ruler, your warrior, your sage, and your lover. And you kind of explained what each aspect of that was. And I don't know if you want to explain who
I
those
would love
people are.
Yeah, maybe just like a simple phrase about what you've learned about each energy role, maybe.
Okay, so ruler is the part of yourself that just oversees everything. You kind of rise above the muddle of life and say, okay, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish here? What are things that I really need to get done? And some people are very fantastic at this, and then they just order it like, okay, well, I need my husband to grab this and my kids to do this, and and they can just order what needs to happen in life and organize it so that life happens. And then once you get that plan in place, then warrior is the doer. You just do it. And then sage is the one that is wise, that says, okay, well, that was the plan, but we're going to have compassion here because these things cropped up, and we're going to be wise and realize we're going to let that go. These things aren't going to happen. And also reflection of what went well, what didn't go well, that's sage. And then there's lover, which is like making sure people's feelings feel good, everybody's happy, everybody's feeling good. And so you asked me, who are you the most dominant? What? And I'm like, I am lover. Like, that is me. I bend over backwards and try to make everything work for my kids, everything to work for my husband, any person that talks to me. If they have something, then I give up kind of my identity to make sure everyone feels good about themselves. And you're like, well, where do you struggle? And I'm like, ruler. I'm terrible ruler. I would like other people to make my decisions for me, and I'll just follow through on their plan, but don't make me make my own plan. That's not comfortable. So that was really powerful for me, was to, because the ruler is such a foreign energy for me to work in. It's not my natural thing. So I had to develop my queen, my ruler in my life. And that was powerful for me. So I would set aside time on Sundays and say, okay, what does this week look like? What's everybody's plans? What are my goals? Because it's okay for me to be on the calendar, just like it's okay for everyone else to be on the calendar. And so it's like, I need to get in my workouts. And normally I'm like, okay, my kids need this and this and this. I'm going to drop them off at school. Then I'm going to run home and I'm going to make their lunch. And then I'm going to drop it back off for them. And then I'm going to do this. Somehow I'll sneak in a workout. Then my workouts didn't happen. So as ruler, she'd say, okay, where can you put this in? It's like, okay, drop my kids off at school. Drive directly to the gym. Do not drive home. Get your workout in, because then you don't have to think about it the rest of the day. And then you can run around making everybody happy, which makes me happy. But it also, so I could still live with my dominant personality trait, but I found a way to make my goals also part of that. And as I let myself live true to myself and my goals, I found that I actually focused less time on myself and had more time for other people and more time and energy to give to them when I took time for myself. Because otherwise I was running around like trying to do stuff for my kids, and in the back of my mind it's like, you need to get in your workout, you need to get in your workout, you know what I mean? And so it was like this nagging voice that I never followed through on. Once I followed through, then that voice was silent, and I could just focus on things that were important to me at the time. So that was a great thing.
To get rid of that nagging voice. because then you're clear and free to enjoy bliss and peace and serenity in the here and now, rather than always feeling like you're playing catch-up, not good enough, inadequate, falling down on the job, which is probably where many women listening to this might be. If somebody was raising their hand right now being like, yep, nailed it, hey, what would you tell them right now? What would you want them to know about themselves?
That it's okay. Been there, and you have to love yourself.
Yes,
I mean,
it's okay.
I mean, truly, it's okay, and that you just take 5 minutes and say what's most pressing to me, and then just order it and be okay with that, because you're going to have more time for all those things that are so important. Because I do really believe, like, nutrition and fitness, they make you feel good, and they fuel you to go do the important things in life, but they're not the most important thing, if that makes sense. And so that was something with this journey that I didn't expect. I thought, okay, I need a coach because I need to have someone that I'm accountable to that's not myself. Because I was so much of lover, which I didn't realize at the time. All I knew is I had no follow-through. But it was just I was so compassionate to everyone else that I would forget me. And so I expected that I would have to talk to someone about my nutrition and my food and my exercise, and then that would help me get through that. I didn't realize that I would be looking into letting myself expand and, you know, have light and joy and happiness and playfulness and all the things that I've kind of allowed into my life. But I had to be coached through that.
I'm smiling so big because you are just like glowing. Like I can feel it through the phone. You know, like I'm sure our listeners can feel it too. Like you are just radiating this happiness and this peace with yourself. And unfortunately, many people in this world think that nutrition and fitness journeys can be vain or be self-centered or can be take all the time away from those other people. But what I've observed that you've discovered is that actually it is that key. It is the key that unlocks you to be of more value and serve and love and enlarge and expand those characteristics that you're already so great at and known for, and that love. And it's just, oh, it's so beautiful. I love it. Oh, let's talk about some of the unknowns along the way in terms of logistics, like things like weight on the scale. Why don't you share a little bit about how often we did that, and photos, as well as maybe around trips or any bloating, like just any of those more factual physiological elements. Do you mind sharing any of those?
Sure. So in the beginning, when we first started, I would weigh myself once a week, do measurements once a week, photos once a week. And then I ended up tripping and falling a lot during that time, to where I'm like, we just decided that I just needed follow through. Mm-hmm. And so we quit weighing and measuring and doing photos for like a month at a time. And I just focused on following the plan, and that was my progress. It wasn't like whether I gained or lost on the scale. So that shift, that was like, wow, well, you know, I only lost half a pound, but I did all this stuff, and you can kind of beat yourself up on that. So it was just like, did I follow through? Did I follow through? How well was my compliance? And that was really big for me, because that I could control. You know, I mean, as women, you can't totally control your weight on the scale, because if it's your time of the month, if it's anything, you've got all this water weight, and it has nothing to do with how well you've followed your plan, but it can psychologically kind of sabotage you. So that was really good for me, to just focus on follow through and like, did I get in my vegetables? Did I get in my fats? Did I get in? And it was easier for me that way, just to say, okay, this is my calorie count. This is how many fats I want. This is how many carbs I want. This is, you know, and I just programmed that into like my Fitness Pal, because it could figure it out for me. So I didn't have to spend all my time figuring that out. And I just focused on that. I did a lot of trips and stuff.
You sure did.
It was on
almost
this
every
journey.
single week for the past, 4 months, 5 months?
Yeah. So we would take our kids and say, let's go to a cabin for 3 days. Because we just, we're going to go snowmobiling or something. And I didn't realize how many emotional triggers there are, that have been programmed in from the time you're a little kid, that when you go on a trip, you just relax and you just enjoy and you don't think about anything. And truly your mind is like your brain shuts off. You walk in the cabin door and the brain is gone and and everybody, first thing they do, whether you just ate 30 minutes ago or not, they crack open a bag of Doritos. I mean, it's just life. And everybody knows this. We just do it. And so part of that was Queen, saying, okay, I'm going to be going to the cabin this weekend. What's my goal? And I would go through my strategies and what am I going to eat? And so I had food that I brought for the family and food that I brought for myself. And I know that sounds like a lot of work, but actually end up making it so I was at peace and content and could really enjoy the cabin. So it's it gave me probably an hour or two of extra work going up into that, but it made my whole weekend where I could stay probably 90% on my strategy. Occasionally I'd dabble a little bit here and there, but it was almost contained. It wasn't just a free-for-all. And it didn't matter if I had other family there who would say, why are you doing that? Why can't you just relax? I'm glad I don't have to eat the way you do,
Yeah.
So I just discovered socially in the United States right now, or Western culture, it's very accepted to do shaming for people who are trying to be healthy. And I think it's ironic that they feel like if you're eating vegetables, you're extreme, but cracking open a full pan of brownies is not extreme.
Well
we just
said.
have this shift right now that's a little bit weird. It's like, if you think about it, in the 70s and 80s, people would have thought that eating the pan of brownies was extreme and eating your vegetables was the normal thing. So, but then recognizing again, well, people are saying that because they want to feel good about what they're choosing to eat. It's not because they want me to feel bad. And so, learning to, let that go, let those little comments, like a duck with water rolling off your back, you just let it go and you don't internalize it, because people really do want to see you succeed. They want to know it's possible. It's just they don't think it is at the time, and so they make those little comments to you.
Yeah, and you having the wisdom to be able to recognize it rather than taking it personally and letting it impact you and your choices was really powerful. Why don't you kind of summarize, because I'm sure people are thinking okay, well, I mean, what do you look like now? Where did you start at? People are always looking for that frame of reference in relationship to themselves. And so I'm going to remind our audience, don't compare. Every single person is an individual experience, but just so they can appreciate your journey, do you mind sharing any of those details of the physical changes?
Yeah, that's fine. So I'm 5'3", so I'm a short girl. And about when I started, when I was the 1 pound away, I was 165 pounds. So that was a lot of weight for my frame, because it depends on your height on whether that's a lot of weight or not. And so I got down to 139 pounds, so a 26 pound weight loss. And 139 in the BMI, I hit normal. so I mean, for me, if you took a picture of me, I do not look like a supermodel, if that makes sense. I'm not, I still have stuff I can tighten and tone from where I'm at, but I'm super happy with where I'm at. And I think part of that is just knowing the integrity and the follow through. It's I can be proud of where I am, and I'm still going to be pushing forward just to feel good about where I want to go, because I haven't quite hit my ultimate goal, but I'm getting close, and close enough
You
that
are.
I celebrate it.
Yes. Oh, I love that you say that. That's great. And I mean, let's do rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Did I put you on any special supplements in terms of like, you have to take this? This is like a miracle product.
No. I took some vitamins. So vitamin D, glutamine, and fish oil. So just normal things. And that's something that I really loved, because I would have people who would try to push me and they'd see I'm losing weight. So like, get on this program with me. And it's like, you only eat one meal a day and you drink shakes. And I'm like, I can't sustain that. Like, when I get done, I'm not going to know how to eat. And my goal is to do this once and then maintain, rather than continue on, lose and then gain and lose and gain, because you haven't really learned what you're doing.
Yeah. And was there any one specific meal plan we followed, or was there a lot of vacillation in the way that you approached it?
We changed it up like every month. We changed my meal plan up, and sometimes even more quickly than that. Like if there was a meal plan and in a week into it, it's like, this is not working for me, we just changed immediately. So there's times when I would do different strategies. One of them was like, drop carbs, like your carb cycling. So I dropped my carbs. I got up to the point where I dropped for 4 days and then carb up for a day. And after a while, it's like, I need them more often. So then I did it, every 2 days. 2 days drop carbs and a carb up and stuff like that. So I think recognizing for yourself and being true to yourself, what is it that I need? What can I sustain? And being honest about it instead of feeling guilty like, oh, I'm not doing what they said, so it's not going to work. It's like, no, you can change it to what works for you.
Yeah, change the approach, change the strategy, because we change with time, and our schedules change and our needs change, and sometimes even our appetite changes. And so that was cool. We did intermittent fasting. We did carb cycling. We did more moderated carbs. We did lots of different strategies. And it's not that for any other reason than we adapted to what you needed at the time and explored that.
And part of it was, for me, I am a person that likes change. Like if I'm too long on one thing, I get antsy and a little bit bored. I mean, so I think we do that with normal life. We don't stick with the same thing over and over and over, or you get to a point where, like, say you said, I'm going to eat chicken breast and broccoli every meal because it's working for me. Well, when you're done and if you ever gain weight, you're never going to want to go back and eat chicken and broccoli again.
Oh, yeah.
It ruins that. So to be able to change and say, these are the foods I want to eat. And, we would push into a little bit of discomfort, and then I would eat. And so it would never felt like I was starving. And I think that was a surprise to me.
That's so cool. And we didn't say you had to do any specific protein powder because it's the magical one or because I'd make more money. You used your own, and we just factored that into our macros, right?
Yeah.
Anything else just in terms of what people think it's often about? Forbidden foods, did we have any?
No, I just told you I ate candy bars.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so no, there's no forbidden food, but I think it's just being wise about, it's like the power foods. If you're just wise about what you're putting in and what time you're putting it in, and knowing what you need. So it's like if you need fruit and then you incorporate that in a strategic way to where you're getting what you need.
Love it. Awesome. So here you are, enlightened, and I mean, you've always been enlightened. You're always like kick-butt woman, but seeing you step into this like highest self I've ever seen you in and just radiating, what's your plan moving forward? Like you did mention you'd like to continue working on a few things, but where's your end goal or where's your maintenance goal? That's more what it's about, right? End goal is like, we're done with life. Let's not do that.
No. Yeah, I mean, as far as my weight or what,
Yeah. I mean, my weight and approach and just the mindset behind all of this. Yeah.
So when I decide that I'm going to maintain, I'm going to probably be between 125, 130 is my end goal with that. But maintaining, I think it's continuing to let myself be who I want to be, and that creation of who am I, because I think you get to a certain point, and I'm almost there right now, where I had this push to get to a normal BMI. And now that I'm there, I need to use that strategy of what's my new identity, like where am I going towards? And I think like once you're there with like physical things, you know, that's one aspect, but then it's also visualizing that person that you want to be. And so something, you know, for that is just continuing to use that tool and saying, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm headed for, so I'm going to write it down and talk to myself as if I'm already there. Because by talking to myself like I'm already there, you know, like one of the things that we talked about, I'm just going to read one of them, because I'd had a challenge with somebody being extremely purposely hurtful to me during this journey. And so it's like, how does my new identity handle rude people? Because my old identity was to like be crushed like a little flower and to feel guilty and to wonder what I did and why did I feel that way. You know, that was the old me. And then but at the time I wrote this, that was the real me at the time. But I was like, my new identity handles rude people with poise and objectively looking for truth in what is said and owning responsibility for my actions. So paying attention, where did I, you know, where could I have caused that? But allowing the rude person to keep the responsibility for their own actions. So allowing that to be on them, the way they handled it, that I'm not going to take ownership for that. You know, so those kind of things, like moving forward in maintaining, it's like you said, with that creation of who am I think that's constantly evolving. Like, where am I, where do I want to be? And I think also as my kids, you know, they're getting older, at some point I'm going to have, you know, daughters-in-laws and son-in-laws, and who am I going to want to be in that identity, you know? And I'm almost to the point, I got 2 years till I'm an empty nester, so it's like, okay, who am I with that, you know, because having children in my home has been such a huge part of my identity. I'm already emotionally starting to create who am I with them being out of my home, you know, and that kind of thing.
You are a powerhouse. I love it. I'm just truly grateful that you've shared this, and I'm sure many people out there are feeling inspired and feeling like, you know, maybe I can do this. So let's just wrap this up with one last piece of advice, because you are someone in the trenches, continuing to be in the trenches. We're all in the trenches, but you're aggressively there. What would be that last piece of advice you'd leave with the women out there?
My advice would be that you can do it. You know, you're absolutely worth it, and you have value within yourself that you don't even realize, and you have the ability to create your own happiness, and be willing to let yourself do that. That it's okay. It's okay to be happy, and it's okay to love who you are right now, mistakes and flaws and all.
Are you wanting to lose weight, reduce your prescriptions, feel at peace with food, know exactly what to eat, and have meal plans that are tasty and super easy to follow? Then I would love to introduce you to the Body Buddies Master Nutrition book. This is the ultimate collection of every helpful document, guide, template, meal plan, and challenge I have created over the course of Body Buddies. When you purchase the Master Nutrition book, it will be the last meal plan, diet, and nutrition book you'll ever need to buy. Let me tell you just a few of the incredible resources that are inside this 200-page book. Emotional Eating Recovery Workbook and Baby Step Principles, Hypothyroidism Guides and Education, Power Foods Detox for Organs and Digestive Tract, Carb Cycling Approaches, Ketosis Approaches, Intermittent Fasting Approaches, Moderate Weight Loss Approaches, Muscle Gains Approaches, Fitness Competitor Body Creation Approaches, Vegan and Vegetarian Approaches. You guys, when I picked up my first printed copy, I had so many tears come to my eyes. I know this is going to help my Body Buddies so much, and I just can't wait for you to get your hands on it. That's why for the first 100 customers, I'm offering a 2-for-1, which includes a 15-minute coaching call with me to help guide you to the right section of the book that's right for you. Again, that's only for the first 100 customers, so don't wait. Go to www.powerfoodslifestyle.com/ Masterbook. Again, that's powerfoodslifestyle.com/masterbook. I can't wait for you to get your hands on this. You are going to love, 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 love it.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes. You can learn more about Body Buddies and Power Foods Lifestyle by going to www.body-buddies.com, BODY-BUDDIES.com, and powerfoodslifestyle.com. That's www.POWERFOODS-lifestyle.com.
Information in this episode is provided for informational purposes and is not meant to substitute the advice provided by your own physician or other medical professional. Information and statements regarding dietary supplements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.